Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today's cards feature a new collection out and about. These are sized perfectly to use with the new Scout Platinum die cutting machine. Out and About is a very large and varied collection. My cards will feature 6 of these sets. I don't know about you, but my large die cutter is positioned so that I have to stand to use it. I really enjoyed being able to just sit comfortably at my workstation and do all of the die cutting for these cards. The Scout is small and light, making it perfect for crafting on the go as well. You can get it in white, but of course I chose the lilac shimmer. It's gorgeous. It comes with the universal plate system, so the Scout can easily accommodate die cutting, embossing, even embossing with dies. I love that platforms A and B outline the different sandwiches for easy reference. The sides open up and you have a nice stable platform. For the die cutting today, I'm going to be using the 2 platforms and 2 cutting plates. This sturdy little machine has lots of features, but the thing that really stands out for me is the size of the platform. With a 3.5-inch width and 9-inch length, it can accommodate various sizes of dies. The first card that I'm sharing with you is Dancing in the Rain. This is a really sweet die set that has an easy interactive element. Spellbinders recently released a guillotine. This is a smaller size, so it is also very portable. With my cardstock cut down to size, I can take my guillotine and pop it in the little cupboard that I keep right next to my desk and start my die cutting. I know that there are a number of people that love to stand and craft. That is not me. So I really appreciate being able to sit comfortably at my workstation, do my paper trimming, set that machine aside, pull in my small die cutter, do my die cutting, and then get to the business of putting the card together. As I mentioned earlier, I have a storage area that is right next to my workstation that I can access everything that I need. As soon as I saw the Dancing in the Rain die set, I knew that I had to have a bright yellow slicker. And it is accompanied by a little duck. How cute is that? The entire card was designed around these 3 die cuts that you're seeing right now. I'll finish up by die cutting the puddle and a number of raindrops. A couple of the die cuts are layered, so I'll start by assembling the top of the umbrella. The umbrella base has etched lines, so it is easy to align the stripes to it. And I'm just going to pop in the last one, and then there's this little tiny die cut that goes right in the center of the umbrella. And at first I thought that was the beak for the duck, so I ended up having to die cut that again because I didn't want it to be orange. I'll pop the boots onto the legs and you'll notice that there's a circle die cut at the top. This is for the interactive element. This is going to be a shaped card, so I'm going to be using a couple of dies from the Arch Labels and Tag die set. I think this one is the 3rd largest die, and I've used it to cut Bristol smooth cardstock. I'm creating an ink blended background using Distress Oxide inks, Hickory Smoke, Shaded Lilac, Squeezed Lemonade, and a little bit of Ripe Persimmon. And after I've got all of my colors applied, then I'm going to go back very lightly with the Hickory Smoke and apply it over the entire panel. It is going to be mounted onto foam that has been die cut with the same die that was used to cut this panel. The largest die from Arch Labels and Tag die set was used to cut indigo cardstock, and my foam mounted panel is adhered to it. To create the card base, I'll use that same die. The die is positioned so that the top of the arch will overhang the crease in some white cardstock that has been folded in half. I've run it back and forth a couple of times in my die cutter so that it cuts through both layers, and then my card front is adhered to the card base. I wanted the puddle to have just a little bit of dimension, so right around the edges I'm adding in some chipped sapphire with a mini blending brush. It is then centered on the bottom of the card, making sure that I have room for my sentiment beneath it. The individual letters from the word wishes from the Happy Birthday Wishes die set are adhered. I like to lay out the letters first so that I can get it more or less centered on the width of the panel. There are shadow dies for these scripty words, but I chose to use just the lettering for this card. So I just have everything laid out at this point, and I'm going to take that little duck and I'm going to sit him right on top of the letter S. Okay, so this is the interactive element, and the legs are positioned so that the boots are sitting in the center of the puddle, and I'll pop a small foam square in that die cut opening. Both the raincoat and the umbrella top have to be popped up to allow those legs to swing freely, and also so that that small foam square can attach to the back of it and be secure. I found it easiest to attach the umbrella to the coat first before adding some foam tape to the back of it. 3 strips of the foam tape have been placed so that it sits on the back of just the umbrella. The top of the legs needs room to be able to swing back and forth without being impeded by the foam. After removing the backing paper from both the strips and the small foam square, then the die cut is positioned over top of the legs. Oh my gosh, isn't that cute? I cut several of the raindrops, and they're going to be added in small groupings. I'm going to top each of them up with Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew, which dries clear and will give them a dimensional look. These raindrops are small, so I did practice on some scrap paper first. And I'm just using my craft pick to pull the top of the drop up to a pointed end. And that, my friends, is card 1, and we're ready to move on to card 2 with the adorable Luna the Seahorse. I thought it would be cute to create a snow globe with Luna, so I have pulled Simon's snow globe. The base has been cut from teal cardstock, and then the globe out of Bristol smooth cardstock. I'll also be incorporating some of the images in the background and the sentiment from a really cute stamp set called What Are You Up To? Working with Distress Oxide inks and a small blending tool, I'll add Salvage Patina, Mermaid Lagoon, and Ice Spruce to the globe. Although the colors are being applied randomly, I am keeping the line of color more or less horizontal to create that movement of water. And I just keep working back and forth between the 3 colors until my globe is completely filled in. It is a soft and pretty effect, but I am going to finish up with the Mermaid Lagoon by applying it around the edges of the globe with a lot more pressure. I'm going to add in some images from the What Are You Up To stamp set to create a background for the seahorse. The jellyfish has been stamped with Salvage Patina, and then I'm going to take my Spellbinders water brush, pick up some of that color from the pad, and just add that to the body. Stamp set also comes with a larger stamp that incorporates plants and coral. I'm going to ink that up with various colors and then stamp it. I'm using Abandoned Coral, Salvage Patina, and Bundled Sage. And I just add ink to a section, stamp it, and then go back, add a different color of ink, overlapping it with the previous one, and stamp it until I'm done. Now to put Luna together, I'm going to add some Scotch tape behind the die cut opening for the eye, and then pop in the little white eyeball. I can follow up with that little tiny pupil and the light teal cheek. Luna has been die cut from a medium teal cardstock and the fins with a lighter shade. This set also comes with coral, seaweed, and starfish, which I've cut multiple times. And I'm highlighting these elements with just a little bit of white pigment ink. I'll use the coral and the seaweed to create a couple of groupings which will be adhered to the bottom of the snow globe. Luna was also die cut from white sheet foam, and then the cardstock die cut adhered to it. The dimension will add some depth to the overall scene. I'll finish up by adding in the coral colored starfish. After white cardstock has been embossed with the classic backdrop 3D embossing folder, it is trimmed down to 4 by 5¼ inches. It will be adhered to a dark teal card base that is A2 sized. The snow globe is adhered to the card front, and then it is finished off with some gorgeous peridot color essential gems. I find it easiest to do the placement by using a craft pick when using these self-adhesive embellishments. The pick is positioned between the crystal and the backing paper. The pick catches the adhesive and then the crystal can be easily moved. Card 3 features a couple of die sets, Sprinkle and Grow and Happy Birthday Wishes. For this card, I'll be using the Happy Birthday script and shadow dies. Shadow dies were used to cut white sheet foam and also some pretty patterned paper from the Bay Fair 6x6 paper pack. The patterned paper was stacked onto the foam die cuts. The letters die cut from cream cardstock were adhered on top. I actually did the happy birthday wishes but didn't have room on my card front for wishes, so drop that off. Started off by assembling the watering can on a foam die cut. After the handles and cross piece were in place, then the watering can die cut from patterned paper, the same as the shadow die cuts in the sentiment, was adhered on top. The handle at the top of the watering can was only adhered to the foam on the one side, and then the one closest to us is adhered on top of the patterned paper. The watering can is finished up with the spout detail. The set comes with flowers and foliage. Just a couple of minutes is needed to assemble some of those pieces. To make it easier to create the arrangement in the watering can, I'm first going to place some double-sided tape on the back. Then I can just feed the stems through the opening at the top of the watering can and catch them onto the double-sided tape so they're not slipping all over the place. And I have a fairly full arrangement, and you can see I'm just making sure that I have some space on the tape to catch the last one. I'm going back to the Bay Fair paper pack and selecting a design for my card front. It is being trimmed down to 4 by 5¼ inches, and it will be die cut with one of the dies from the Notch Corner Frames die set. To create a frame for the die cut window, I'll use the same die and the next largest one, tape them together, and cut cream colored cardstock. The frame is first aligned and adhered to the window opening, and then the panel is attached to an A2 size card base. After the foam-backed watering can is adhered to the window opening, die-cut sentiments are adhered above and below it. And this sweet card is finished up with lots of berry color essential gems on and around the floral arrangement. We'll wrap up these cards with a real cutie using Mushroom Mansion and Garden Buddies. Between these two sets, there's quite a bit of die cutting, so it was so nice to be able to sit down with my Scout and do that in a relaxed manner, comfortably. I'll start off by assembling Mushroom Mansion. This is a fairly large die set. The red base of the mushroom has etched lines on it, making it easy to align the layered die cuts on top of it. The cap was cut from chocolate brown cardstock and then the underside from craft. I'm placing some Scotch tape at the back of the window openings. I die cut the mushroom again from light blue cardstock so that I would have these pieces to inlay. To coordinate with the top of the mushroom, the door and the window frames have also been cut from the dark brown cardstock. It is always amazing to me how these little details pack such a big punch. And then the little annex on the side of the mushroom is finished off the same way as the main mushroom, with a dark brown mushroom cap and a craft underlayment piece. Mushroom Mansion comes with a snail and foliage. I've die cut the little mushroom out of both red and craft cardstock, and then I interchanged the tops of them so that I would have two different accessory pieces. The snail's eyes and mouth are quite small, so I just cut a little square of black cardstock and adhered it to the back of it. This shell was cut from craft cardstock and it's a spiral, so I kind of popped it up and then just put adhesive around the edges of it. Right, now we're moving on to the Garden Buddies die set. This set has flowers, a gnome, and a cute bird. The gnome's eyes and nose have been put in place. I had to take the nose off because there's a beard and a mustache going on this guy. I've got his teal hat in place and now I'm attaching the beard. Attach the nose to the back of the mustache and then on went that piece. After I did my die cutting, I was looking everywhere for the bird's beak and I couldn't find it. Guess what? It's at the top of the gnome's hat. I inverted it. And I liked it, so I left it. Teal shoes are adhered to the back of the pant legs, and then the top adhered over top of that little round piece at the top of the pants. This cute gnome is finished up by adding on his head and then those two little arms on either side of his shirt. Then on to the bird. He's been die cut from lime green cardstock. Detail piece for the head, the wing, and the feet have been cut from craft cardstock. So I haven't discovered yet that the beak for the bird is sitting on the top of the hat for the gnome. So I'm going ahead and putting my flowers together, and later on when I figure that out, we'll add in an orange beak. Really, one of the things I've learned is not to sweat the small stuff. The discovery is made, so now the bird can be finished off, and really it does make a big difference. All of the die cuts have been arranged on an A2 size card base, and I'm taking press and seal, laying it on top, and then I'll carefully flip it over, peel my card base off, then it can be set aside until I'm ready to adhere it to the card front. Bristol Smooth card front will go edge to edge on the A2 size card base, so it measures 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. Positively saturated inks are being applied using blender brushes. I'm starting off with Spring. Next, I'll blend in a soft blue called Seafoam. The top third of the panel is finished off with a slightly darker blue called Surf. To achieve a smooth blend, I do apply the inks a couple of times, extending one color into the next. To add in some texture, I'm applying clean water with a fan brush. I'll let it set for just a few seconds and then take some paper towel and pick up the moisture. Go back to the scene that is sitting on the press and seal. All of the pieces that are overlaying the back, I'm just going to take some liquid adhesive and secure those. And I'm going to add in a couple of more pieces in the background, and you can see how easy it is just to pick it up by the press and seal, lay it over the panel to see how it looks. I want my scene to have some dimensions sitting on the panel, so I've used the mushroom die and I've cut white sheet foam, and I'm going to adhere the foam die cut to the back of the cardstock one. And I can easily flip it over to check the alignment and then make some minor adjustments. For all of the die cut elements that extend beyond the mushroom, I'm going to add in some small foam squares. We're getting close to putting this in place, so I'm going to add my background to the card base. To create more depth with this scene, some foliage is being adhered right to the panel. And as I add in pieces of foliage, I can then pick up my scene that is sitting on my press and seal and just make sure that I have things aligning correctly. And as I overlay my scene again to double check things, I notice that you can't really see that small leaf, so I'm going to cut it off and use it elsewhere. All of the backing paper has been removed from the foam squares. Liquid adhesive is being added to the foam-backed mushroom. Now I can just flip it over, let it hover over top of my panel till I have it exactly where I want it, and then set it into place. When removing the press and seal, I start on one side, peeling it up carefully and helping those die cuts release from it. This is easy to do, but what you don't want to do is just grab it and rip it off, because there will go your arrangement. So obviously I didn't place enough pressure on my gnome, but that was an opportunity for me to add some adhesive where it will overlap with the mushroom and then reposition it back down on my panel. Then I'll tuck in just a few more leaves here and there and finish up with those little mushrooms. Sentiment for this card is a simple hello from Everyday Sentiments. It has been die cut from the same green cardstock used for the bird and is stacked on foam. I won't remove the excess foam until the sentiment is dry, so that is an opportunity to do some embellishing. I'm adding white Nouveau drops to the gnome's hat and to the breast of the bird. Green jewel drops are being added to the spiral of the snail's shell. The hello has been released from the excess foam, and I made sure that there was enough room to tuck it between the snail and the gnome, kind of like a doormat. And this card needs some sparkle, so on goes some of the Peridot Color Essential Gems. And that wraps up this set of cards featuring Spellbinders Out and About collection that is perfectly sized for the new compact Scout die cutting machine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I appreciate your visit.